on Ice, the ultimate February anime. The name of this philosopher is love. After watching the anime Yuri on Ice, I couldn't help but start thinking about love. Now, I wasn't exactly thinking in a romantic way about it, but rather I thought more about the 7 types of love according to Greek philosophy. I started to do a little bit more research into what the creator, Seio Yamamoto, had in mind when they were creating the story. She did say that it was never intended to be a love story in the narrow sense of carnal love, but rather what love means in the context of Yuri on Ice as a whole. So I really wanted to explore the 7 types of love and their representation in Yuri on Ice. These connections are how I received the story. Many people may have understood and connected to the story differently than I did. Of course, when the 2 Yuris are pitted against each other in a competition to see who will become the student of the famed Viktor Nikiforov, Viktor creates a program for each of them using the same song that has been arranged differently. Yuri Kazuki lacks self-confidence. He has doubt that nearly consumes him. He's given the show Eros. He needs to represent physical desire. I see this part of the show and can relate to Yuri. He's awkward and self-conscious, not exactly the best representation of desire. He takes desire and kind of bends the meaning a little. Instead of trying to force himself to represent sexual desire, he chooses a simpler form of desire in the beginning. His biggest desire is a pork cutlet bowl. He uses the desire of delicious food to propel him. Yuri, I think, is the perfect representation of Philasha, self-love. We watch over the course of 12 episodes Yuri grow to love himself through being loved by Viktor. We see his confidence grow in each episode in a realistic way. As he gains confidence, he may fumble and doubt himself a few times, but throughout the love and support he has around him, by the end he loves himself. He has no doubt that he can take on Viktor in a competition. To me, this feels more accurate. I saw this more in the forefront of the story rather than speculating the possibility of a physical romantic relationship between Viktor and Yuri. Yuri Plesetsky, who is loud, aggressive, and selfish, receives the theme of agape, selfless love. It is of course entertaining to watch, but to think about the struggle that both Yuris go through and how they overcome those struggles is really interesting. Yuri P, who they've nicknamed Yurio to differentiate the two, struggles with the emotion of selfless love. His skill is supreme and he can perform the show flawlessly, but the emotional believability of his performance lacks soul, for lack of a better term. We soon find that the person Yurio loves the most, other than himself, is his grandfather. His grandfather listens to Yurio, takes heed in what the young boy says and mentions, even when Yurio doesn't necessarily mean for him to. We see this when the grandfather gives him a pierogi. Yurio mentions that he should try a pork cutlet bowl. The grandfather later makes a pork cutlet bowl inside of a pierogi for his grandson. This love is selfless and becomes the pure inspiration for Yurio, the selfless love of his grandfather. The representation of Storge can be seen when it comes to Yuri's biggest fan, Minako. While Storge is typically the love between a parent and a child, we see that kind of relationship with Minako. She pushes him to take care of himself, and she supports him the way any parent would. When it's late at night and Yuri needs to practice, she is the first one that he calls, and she is right there ready to help him without question. She is Yuri's #1 fan and loves him unconditionally, very much like how a parent would love their child. There was one relationship in this anime that at first I was extremely put off by. It was the relationship between Michael Crispino and his sister Sarah. It seemed weird to me at first. They behaved more like they were in a romantic relationship, rather than being siblings. As the show went on, I still felt a little put off by the depiction of their relationship, but understood it to be a Pragma type of love. This is a long-lasting love. Even though they're young, they are twins and they've always been together. They live for each other, and that's the main classification of Pragma. So while some of the wording in the English translation, or even if it was intentional, seems suggestive, but I remind myself this isn't Game of Thrones, so I paid closer attention. Their type of love seemed to click. Just because it's a type of love that I have yet to fully experience, it still made sense to me. One of the characters that I felt kind of isn't in the spotlight as often as the others, but is a decent representation of Ludus, is Emil Nicola. Ludus is a softer, more playful type of love. When depicted in a romantic relationship, it can become a cause for concern, mainly because this type of love is often flirtatious. But for Emil, we see him typically asking people to have a meal with him, join him for drinks, or generally just want to be with people he cares about. This character struck me as Ludus when Yuri goes on a hugging spree during one of his competitions. Emil is the only one of the characters that willingly embraces Yuri back. He's excited to share in an intimate moment, and I think that the playful, flirtatious love is well represented by Emil. The last type of love is the one I personally am most fond of. It's Phelia, the affectionate love. This, simply put, is the love for one another. It's a combination of all types of love, and such a wonderful representation of the show in general. There's so much love packed into this anime, but Phelia is in every single character. They're affectionate with one another, whether it's to support them in their skating programs, a good-spirited competitiveness to make each other work harder, or even just simply loving themselves. While romantic and physical love is present, it's not the only type of love to be experienced. Phelia allows love between friends, family, romantic partners, and even professional partners. It's the love we feel for everyone around us. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think of Yuri on Ice in the comments down below. And if you haven't already, join us on our Facebook page for memes, news, and sneak peeks. The link is in the description below. Toodles! Yuri, I think, is the perfect representation of Phelia. That's not the right way to say that.